One, two, three. Alright everyone, welcome back. I'm Emo Tempest and welcome to the quick look into the Opus 23 Hidden Trials Ice cards. I think Ice is getting a real cool bag of tricks and this card might actually make a return this time around. Definitely some interesting stuff. As always, I'm going to give you what I think are the standout cards. Things I think should find homes, or things that have a lot of a big curve to make an impact into the game. And then some honorable mentions, and obviously we'll go into the limit breaks because limit break is the new thing this year. So as always, if you find anything useful, please make sure to share the love by liking the video and sharing it in your discords. It would mean a lot, help the channel grow, yada yada yada. Let's talk about ice cards. Alright, for me it is definitely Amo. Amo is my favorite ice card for sure. I was talking about it right away because it's the first, I think it's one of the first ones, right? Second ice card, sorry. For my Yu-Gi-Oh players, this is kind of like a cold wave, but at least that's what we thought anyway, in a similar way. What does this mean for ice? Let's read it. Put Amo into the break zone. Your opponent removes all the cards from their hand from the game face down. Your opponent can look at these removed cards at any time. At the end of the turn, your opponent adds them back to their hand. You can only use this ability during your turn. Yeah, so what does this mean for ice is that every card that requires your opponent to have 2 or less or none, no cards in their hand is 100% live. Last set we got Rusan Arbiter, we had Ishtola, the old 2 CP Squall, Legacy Lightning, which is coming in this set, is just another one, Victoria and the Limit Break, Physalis, and I'm sure the list can go on. All of these cards are live. Ice is at its maximum potential with one card, and I love it. Right? There's aside from that, there's the obvious, push for game kind of mechanic here. It's like, all right, you're holding on to all your answers. Cool. Let's put them on the side before I do anything. Right? We're just gonna break this back up. Boom. Your hand's gone. Now I'm gonna do whatever I want. Next turn, if you live this turn, you can figure that out. There's a world where stuff like this kind of could go with, Eldnarsh when you're stealing 2 turns, but that's a whole nother, topic. I just think it's really cool that Ice has a card that can pretty much just always activate everything, right? For the most part, Ice's goal is to obviously discard and keep your hand count low. And it struggles to do that sometimes, right? We draw 2 cards a turn, EX burst, etc., etc. A lot of value. Things can go either way. So sometimes you're sitting on cards, and they're like, all right, I can't do this effect. It's kind of vanilla right now because I can't do anything. This card says Ice, Unchained, full potential, plus ultra, whatever you want to say, and it kind of just makes it do exactly what it's supposed to, right? Now I don't know if we're gonna find a way to make sure we can kind of deal with the cards in their hand. I don't know, but that's another story as well. I think Amo is a fantastic card. I think it is definitely going to see play. I just hope it does. It's as good as I think it is, right? Like I think it's very strong. Amo. Next is gonna be Anima, Acon of Acons. This is another one that goes really well with Eiko, actually. It's just a solid card. Really make the top deck games more brutal, right? Both players at 0 cards is easier to do, because you're kind of both scrambling when that discard top deck game starts when you're playing Ice or Ice Lightning. Some people might say this could be considered a win more card, and yes, I can agree to that to some degree. But I think it could be like a card to secure the game when that power struggle is finding itself, right? Like if I play this card and I freeze, don't freeze all the characters my opponent controls, they're gonna draw 2 cards, And outside of the limit break, it is likely they will not be able to do anything. So it is going to buy that turn to kind of push the shift into you. He is a primal, which I think is interesting. 14, 5-drop, 9k. Has a lot of good things about him. It really just depends what, if this is worth it, right? Obviously, we talked about ammo just a moment ago. There's that, right? There's that one way to do it for sure. Keeping them, my opponent, with everything frozen. They get 5. They come back to whatever cards they have in hand. Now they have to overpay for everything. They're kind of losing a whole turn. And aside from like, that's kind of what we want, right? We want to do the time skips. Time skips are brutal for any player, like in any game. And so I think Anima here could do that for us. Next is going to be Xenos. This one was revealed not too long ago, but when Xenos enters the field, choose up to 2 forwards in your opponent's break zone, remove them from the game. When a card your opponent controls, when a card in your opponent's break zone leaves the break zone, your opponent discards a card. This effect will only trigger once per turn. This is interesting on a lot of reasons, right? I thought about this more now after just reading it to you guys. So let me start off with the notes. Just another good discard card. A good reason to RFG paired with 2 CP Edward and Unaleska is a solid way to remove 2 cards. A turn from your opponent's hand. The LB ruling was confirmed. If a card goes from the field into the break zone and then back to its limit break deck, your opponent will discard. I don't know if it needs to be said, but a Kusith might be bad, right? If it goes back from the break zone to your hand, it doesn't say remove from play, right? Your opponent will discard. So I am curious where this card falls, but I think this is very annoying. Thankfully, the stat line is horrendous. 4/7 is tough, but a lot of value. The 2 cards, 2 forwards to be removed is, really bad. Irvin does it just peachy, and he lives, and he does great things. Obviously, he gets a buff for them, but I don't know. The value's here in a different way. I don't know. I think he's a good card. I think Discard Ice should be making a comeback this set, like I said. And Xenos might be part of that reason. Paco Amethyst is the next one. I think I like this one, honestly. It might be. This one could have easily fit in the honorable mentions along with the next one. Like I said, Ice got an overall good amount of cards, I think. But yeah, same. If you have 2 monsters, it's an 8k. But when Amethyst is chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, your opponent discards a card. It doesn't have to be a forward for that to trigger, it seems like. So, if your opponent tries to break it or, dull it and freeze it, then yeah, discard. I think it's cool. I think it's solid. Again, it could be, the monsters could go either way here for, which way they decide to build. My last one is Lady Lilith. This one probably shouldn't be here in the top 5. It could easily be swapped for any of the honorable mentions as well, but stealing forwards is not nice, and we all know it. We all live in the Chaos Arc world. 3 crystals isn't a big deal. Obviously, you can't put it in a deck where you're kind of fighting over these crystals, because then this card kind of is whack. And it is on entry. It's very punishable, obviously, but it is only a 2-drop. After you generate the crystals, I'm sure the crystal thing is a lot easier. It's getting easier by the set, right? There's always tons of ways to generate them. We have light cards that generate 2. We have things that generate at the end of the turn. We have ways to replay things. Lots of crystals. There's games sometimes where I'm sitting on 5 and don't do nothing. So Lady Lilith is very annoying in that regard. So I think she deserves to be here. I think she's a strong card. I think she could be fun too, really, just to kind of like steal things like, Crystal, Dark, Mono Ice, Chaos Arc. Like, let your opponent struggle to play the card they want to play. Then we're just going to steal them, right? It's just a lot of tomfoolery there. My honorable mentions, or this one, is the Shiva. Has the potential. It has like 2 little effects in one, right? It just protects you and dulls and frees something for cheap. The next one is the Lightning, obviously. at the beginning of the attack phase, choose a forward your opponent controls. If you control 2 more guys, dull it. There's a monster that does that. I think that my biggest issue with this one, where although it's good, it's just a name clash. Cecil is the same thing. Enters the field, discard. You may receive a point of damage. Choose your character, dull them, freeze them, and then deal 10k to all the forward your opponent controls. Take a damage. All of this stuff seems fun and playable, but and then I don't want to get too much into these. I think all of these soldier candidates are good. I think standard units getting a big jump is cool. And then Nimbus is a weird flex kind of guy. The card's dope. Reminds me of Victor from League. Cannot be chosen by your opponent's... the other forwards with Brave cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. And then when he enters the field, you may search for a forward with Brave. So that's not bad. I don't know what I would search off the top of my head, but... and now we can move on to the Limit Break cards, which I almost forgot, actually. So, Kuja. Limit Break 2. When Kuja is chosen by your opponent's summons or ability, choose up to 1 forward, freeze it. You can dull active Kuja, choose a forward, and dull it. So, kind of a little deterrent. I think this is just a decent card. It's reminiscent of some of his older effects, like an old 5 CP EX burst, I think it was. All in all, I think Kuja's an okay one. I think it's nice that they have some generic stuff. I don't know if it's an upgrade from Sergei's, but I think Sergei's will stick around. This might not. I think Kate Sith is the big one to get excited for. This is actually the L. Limit Break 3, Brave. When Kate Sith enters field, if you control 5 or more ice backups, freeze all the backups your opponent controls, and your opponent discards a card. It's not bad. It's a cool effect for ice to have. Just a solid, all-in ice Limit Break card. And then the full art looks dope too. Should be really nice to look at. I think it's cool. They're pretty generic, pretty solid. This Kuja can go anywhere, obviously, in a multicolor deck. This Kate Sith cannot. There's not really much else to say about these guys. Anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for the ice one. We did the honorable mentions. We went over my cards. A lot of things. I think ice will be in a good spot going forward into this next set. It really just depends how much it answers the old meta, right? Because as of right now, I don't think much is changing. But as always, we love to be wrong. But yeah, guys, that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. And yeah, take care.